back again with Laflazian's Diamond Ray Cosmic Activation. Today I'm going to be showing how I like to grow white sage. I like to grow my own white sage because, as some of you may know, they get a chance to watch this video, white sage is a lot of the times unethically sourced. And I just like to grow my own so I can put my own energies into it, so I can know where it comes from, how it was grown, and everything like that. So everything I'm going to be doing today is going to be all organic. I'm not going to be using any harsh chemicals. I'm just going to be using some organic potting soil. Okay. And then I'm not going to be using these today, but these are some things for when the actual plants get a chance to grow. This is mycorrhizae, and I'll explain what these are later. This is fulvic and humaic acid, as well as a soluble kelp. Now, this soluble kelp actually dissolves in water, so the plants can actually absorb that. Okay, and then also, this is some year-old sage here that I have. It has a really high energy to it, even though it's still old and the roots are still attached. These roots can be used in spiritual practices as well as the actual sage itself. The flowers, well, not the flowers, but the actual leaves and the stems and things like that, because this particular type of sage does not have flower like some other herbs has a flower to them. These just grow green foliage. So today I'm going to show how I particularly like to start off my white sage growth. So let's activate some energy here. So this is my singing bowl. I'm just going to okay. So what I'm going to do first is, this is just a regular, of course, plant pot. And a lot of the time, well, since I am Reiki attuned, I like to add Reiki symbols to a lot of different things. So on this particular pot, I'm going to add some Reiki symbols. As some of you may know, being attuned in Reiki, you don't always communicate what these symbols are verbally with uninitiate. So I'm just going to draw some symbols. You may be familiar with these symbols that I am going to draw on this pot. So if you are, then you know what they are. If not, you can always look them up, and you can get a chance to understand them more by looking them up also. So I'm just going to start with just 2 of these symbols, maybe 3. So this is going to be the first one that I'm going to draw here on this pot to introduce universe, life force, frequency, energy, adding Reiki symbols to pretty much anything in the house, anything outside of your house, anything that you wear, anything that you eat. You can add these symbols to the bowls, your pots, your pens, your pencils, your clothing, inside of your vehicle, and things like that. So I'm just going to draw some on this pot. I'm going to start with the first one here. Okay, and these are the symbols here. Starting off and ending. Even though I didn't draw this one backwards, I can still add more symbols across if I decide to do so. But either which way, it still works just the same. If this symbol was reversed, where they're facing this direction. So now, first, we're going to add some potting soil down here in the bottom. And this is that organic potting soil that I showed before. Now, sage, they grow very long, deep roots, as you can see from this here. I'm going to place it on top of this so you can see. So the roots grow pretty long, as well as the stems, they grow pretty tall as well. So depending on the size of your pot, this is just for the purpose of this for right now. I may repot them. And you also do not want to you don't want to plant too many seeds together at once because they may not grow. And if they do grow, they may die later on if they sprout because of the takeover in the pot. If the pot is not large enough or deep enough, you may not get the proper growth that you're looking for, as well as maintaining the watering. So I'm going to start watering this just to dampen it. Okay, there we go. Now these are the sage seeds. I just picked these up at a local hardware store. I'm not using any heirloom sage seeds because everyone can't always get heirloom seeds. So I just picked these up from my local hardware store. And that's another reason too why you want to use Reiki symbols or any other type of energy clearing process. Even when it comes to adding your crystals, when you purchase crystals, you don't want to just bring them into the house immediately and start to just use them and just place them around your home, because if you're not sure on where they come from, the environment they pass through before coming to you, because crystals absorb all forms of energies and frequencies that they encounter. So once you bring those crystals into your home, you can release those energies into your auric field and your energy zones. And a lot of times you don't want to do that. So it's best to clear and cleanse those crystals outside of the home first. And I will make another video on how to do so and what those, processes entail. So for right now, I'm going to show you what these sage seeds look like. A lot of people have not seen a sage seed before. So these seeds are circular. Okay. Very small circular seeds. They just look like little pellets. Okay. So I'm just going to place a few of these in the pot here. And as you see, there's quite a bit of seeds down in there. So you can grow quite a bit of sage. And this smells great. Even these, as old as they are, they still have a perfect scent to them. So I'm just going to place one in the middle. And you can create a little divot if you want so that the seed falls in. So one there, one here, one here. You don't want to go too deep, just deep enough, like the tip of the fingernail of the pinky or so. Okay. So I'm going to place one there, one here, and one here, and then one there. Okay, and I'm going to put the rest back. And then I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to push this one down just a little bit and cover these up. Okay, now after covering them up, I'm going to give them another spritz. All right. And a great way to keep the moisture in the pot to make sure that the seeds actually get a chance to sprout, because you do want to keep these in a nice room. You know, room temperature is great, but if you can get some warmth to them, some people use plant heating pads to heat the bottoms of the pots to get the soil to warm up to the perfect temperature to start the germinating process, which will actually crack those seeds and to get those sprouts to come up to the surface and start to grow actual plants. You don't want to keep them under there the entire time of the growth, just through the juvenile stage, especially if you're in a climate where the weather isn't really favorable for sage to actually grow, or the inside of the home isn't too warm to actually maintain the growth as they're starting to sprout. And that's another reason why I'm not going to add any of the products that are behind the pot until they actually get a chance to mature to a bit, like at least the first 2 to 3 weeks. You don't really need to add anything that's going to, you don't need to add any of the fertilizers or the humic acid or things like that. Now, only thing that you may want to just use a little bit of, just a little bit, is the soluble kelp, because kelp has a lot of vitamins, nutrients, and minerals in it, and is not so acidic where it can damage the plant, because the soil also has nutrients in it. And this particular organic potting soil, it has a lifespan of 3 months that it feeds the actual seedlings themselves, because this particular soil is for seedlings. It has worm casting in it, which is the excrement from worms, which is a great fertilizer itself. So we don't really need to use any of that exactly right now. So I'm just going to continue to moisten this. I'm not going to just drench it with water by just pouring water on top of it, because I don't want the water to run off the bottom. I don't want the seeds to go too far down deep into the soil. So after you see a nice bit of water on top that wants to pool. All right, I'm going to make this kind of quick, but like I was saying before in the last video, the last part of the video, the camera went out because it died. I was using my GoPro, but this particular flame just decided to just go up as the camera died out. But either way, you want to use this plastic wrap to actually cover the top of the flower pot so that it can maintain the moisture. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this plastic wrap and I am going to cover. Now the flame wants to die down. And I'm going to cover the top of the pot like this, so that way it can precipitate back down and keep the actual seeds moist as they begin to germinate. Okay. then I'm just going to secure it with rubber band. To make sure that that doesn't come off. And this stays nice and tight. You don't need to poke any holes because you want the water to precipitate and collect at the top and just rain back down on top of the seeds as they begin to germinate. All right. So hopefully this video was useful, informative. I may record another one, but I had so many mishaps. So I'm going to actually just burn one of these. This is a white sage leaf. And when this grows, it gets so, and you see I didn't even need to do anything but just barely touch it, and it's like going. And the smell is just awesome. Yeah, it's super, 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 super awesome. Look at that. The leaves themselves are really fuzzy. Like if you ever seen mullein or lamb's ear, how fuzzy and velvety those leaves are. This grows the same way. And you can use these to clear and cleanse the energy of your hands. Okay? Clear and cleanse the energy. And activate any of your stones, your crystals. You don't need to use big wedges if you don't want to, because these create a lot of smoke. I'm not sure if it's because of the way how it's been grown, the energy that's been put into it, but a little bit goes a very, 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 very long way. A very long way. This is a golden obsidian. Has gold in it from Mexico. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching this video, and hopefully it was informative. You got a lot out of it, and I may record another one. I'm not sure, just because of the mishaps that I was having.